So in terms of interviews, what do you look for when you're looking for a candidate to come to interview?
Because I'm looking for a broadcast journalist, number one, I need somebody who can broadcast to the highest possible standard. Yes, if you're a young recruit, you might need a little bit of experience live on air, and that comes with practice, but we haven't got time to train people voice-wise, so I'm looking for somebody who has a decent voice, who can go on air, and I can be proud of hearing them on air, because at the end of the day, as a radio station, we've got presenters here who are doing shows to a high level, and they don't want a newsreader coming on their show who's mumbling and stumbling through their scripts. So the programme director will judge my recruitment based on, for instance, if Paul Lockett, who's our award-winning breakfast presenter, leaves, then the programme director will expect me to recruit somebody of a very high standard to replace him. The second criteria, somebody who fits into our small team, because what you don't want is somebody to come in and cause problems. You want somebody who will bring in enthusiasm, be a team player, and that's where work experience comes in handy, because you can prove to the team and to me that you are a team player, that you would fit in and be a real asset to my team. And the third criteria is obviously some degree of interviewing skills, some confidence in talking to people, whether it's the chief constable or somebody who's living in a house in Salford. And so it's having that confidence to communicate, having some degree of interviewing and writing skills. But at the end of the day, we can't teach criteria 1 and 2. We can't change somebody's personality. We haven't got time to teach somebody how to broadcast, but we can help you along the way and advise you in terms of better ways of writing scripts or possibly interviewing people.
Well, let's talk about the interview process now. What do you look for when they walk into that room? What should that person look like? Are those impressions really important?
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, you're looking at me now and judging me. So as soon as you walk in the door, if you're reasonably confident but not over cocky, if you present yourself in a smart way. I mean, what's the reasoning behind people who are in the dock, in front of a judge, getting smartly dressed in a suit and tie? It's because of that first impression. You always, it's human nature, you'll judge somebody from their first appearance. Of course, it's not all about the way that you dress. However, we're looking for people who can represent the radio station and be ambassadors or ambassadresses to, if there's such a word, for the radio station. So, I don't want people going out in, torn jeans and flip-flops and the midriff showing if they're going to be interviewing MPs or the Chief Constable.
So we've discussed what people are wearing. What other things can they do to impress you at interview stage? What kind of things would you advise them to do?
You need to come across in a confident way, and because you are in broadcasting, because you're in the media, in journalism, then it's all about having a degree of confidence, and you need to exude that. You need to be very, very well prepared. You need to know absolutely about the radio station or the publication that you want to join. There's a degree of flattery. I want to hear from people who really, really want to work for this radio station. It's been their ambition to work for this radio station. And you will get caught out because people will say, well, did you hear the breakfast show this morning? Or who's the presenter on the late night show? Or, you will get caught out. You need to know about the broadcast area, about the sort of stories that have been happening. You'll be questioned about general knowledge. And, you can't afford to be unprepared, because you will be caught out, and then there'll be the stunned silence, and then you'll be thinking to yourself, crikey, I've blown it, haven't I, because I haven't done my homework. And with the internet, there's no excuse these days. You can go on to a radio station website, research who the presenters are, have a listen to the programming, listen to the sort of stories that are being used in the news. So there's no excuse for, I always say, proper preparation prevents poor performance. There's a ruder version of it, but that should stay with you for always.
And of course, not just preparation about the station. I'm sure that there's some kind of news test, is there?
Yeah, I mean, depending on, I mean, if you've been doing a journalism course or a broadcast journalism course, you will be expected to have some degree of knowledge of media law. So, you know, also prepare yourself for those tests, whether it's general knowledge, knowing who key players are, who key celebrities, sporting personalities from this area, and also you may be asked certain questions that will actually illustrate whether you've taken in your grounding in terms of knowing about the media law.
What kind of things would you say is a big no-no? What are the pitfalls to avoid?
Being overconfident or arrogant, or, as I say, being underprepared. And also, if you don't know something, then just say, look, actually, I'd have to have a think about that. You know, just be honest and open, and then you know that the person is thinking, well, this is a genuine person that I'm speaking to. Yeah, they are prepared, but yeah, they have been caught out there and they've owned up to it, rather than trying to, you know, waffle the way through something.
Now, one of the things that I've been asked in interviews before, and I'm sure is asked in many interviews at the end, is, have you got any questions to ask? Is it a good thing to have questions? Does it make a difference if you have?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, you know, you need to give the impression that you're interested in the organisation. So yeah, ask some questions. Ask questions maybe about the sort of things that you would be expected to do, and you know, look enthusiastic when they say, well, yeah, of course you'll be starting doing overnights and working endless hours. You know, so yeah, ask relevant questions. Clearly the first question you shouldn't ask is, how much am I going to earn? Because that gets you off on the wrong footing. I will always give feedback, whether it's asked for or not, because I think, in fairness, you want to go away and not get a letter afterwards, but maybe get that verbal feedback. So I always say, look, you know, we'll get in touch with you, but would you like to know how you've performed in this interview? Most of the time it's like, well, yes, of course. And, you know, I then give some honest advice. And one of the people that I've recently recruited for a job has been for an interview before with me and took away some of the advice that I gave her, and she improved on some of the things that I suggested, and then she felt that she was better prepared to apply for the job again. So it's just like with X Factor, where, you know, somebody gets rejected first time round and they bounce back and they've taken on Simon Cowell's advice and they come back a better singer or a better performer.
The Simon Cowell of Key 103.
I doubt it.
Well, you must have interviewed lots of people over the years, John. Any memorable interviews, ones that stand out, good or bad?
The thing that you can fall into the trap of is there's formal interviews, very set interviews, and you can prepare for those, and you can almost second guess what's going to come up. The interviews where you will be trapped are the more informal interviews, and I tend to do more informal chats, and that's where you can actually come unstuck. And a very good newsreader from another radio station came along once, and I was having a chat just like this now, and I said, well, you know, you're a great newsreader, but what about, you know, when you go out interviewing, do you like going out, you know, interviewing people? And this person said, well, to be honest with you, John, I quite often re-edit or edit out my questions because I don't feel very confident in questioning people. And because he thought he was just having an informal chat, but that was the deciding factor on me taking that person on. And you never know who's listening to you or who's monitoring the work that you're doing, because a good news editor is like a good football manager. We will be scouting, we'll be listening out hearing people on other radio stations, monitoring people's work. And when I'm recruiting, yes, I put a job ad out there, but I will already have in mind a number of people who I will have been monitoring, looking at their career progress. People will actually be sending me, even if they're working somewhere else, their latest demo tape, their latest CV, and it's those sort of people where I think, yeah, they really want to work here, don't they? And so I monitor their progress and see whether they're now at that stage of being ready to come along and join us. So, you know, never be complacent. If you're reading a news bulletin on a small radio station somewhere, you never know who's going to be listening to that. So give it your all every time. And my final sort of warning is, I was driving through a particular area once, and I suggested to the person who was with me, the group programme director, let's have a listen to this person on this radio station because I've got my eye on them. And they made a dog's dinner of the bulletin, and the programme director said, well, there's no way you're going to think of taking them on, is there? Because and they'd blown their chances, and they never know to this day that they blew their chances by not doing their job brilliantly on that one occasion when somebody heard them.
We have been warned. Thank you very much, John Pickford.